Hi, and welcome to the Candidates Forum. I'm your host for today, Patricia Valencia, and I'm here with Robert Palacios, candidate for City Council District 4. Hello, Robert, how are you?
Hey, thanks.
Good to see you once again. Now, today we're going to be focusing on business and building the economy in Las Cruces. So, what does that mean to you, first and foremost?
So, building the economy is creating jobs, which includes education, right? As well as supporting local businesses and just growing the economy as a whole, finding an industry that works in our community.
Now, what kind of industries are there and what opportunities do you see for growth here in Las Cruces?
Yeah, so of course we have White Sands Missile Range, we have New Mexico State University, but in District 4 specifically, we have the airport and industrial park. And so there's a lot of untapped resources and opportunities there where we can grow business and stimulate economic growth in our community.
Now, what does that mean for District 4 specifically?
So District 4, it's looking at those areas. Actually, they are in a federal opportunity zone. And so it means finding investors that are interested in our area and helping them, see the benefits of moving into Las Cruces and what we have to offer.
Now, we've been talking about District 4 and always District 4. Now, where is District 4? Like, where can everybody go see what entails in District 4?
Yeah, so we actually have a map up here looking at District 4. The large area is going to be out off of I-10. This is Industrial Park right here. And we also have, this is the airport, and across the street you have the Love gas station. And then it follows I-10 back into the city. And that's where we have Avenida de Mesilla over here in the bottom part. District 4, you're going to have Amador from the way station all the way to Esperanza. And then we have Valley from Mayfield High School over to a little bit past Bouts. And then we have, like I said, Avenida de Mesilla. It follows Idaho and El Paseo up in that area. And then off Picacho, that blue line is where it cuts off at the river and goes all the way down Picacho until the railroad tracks. And then you have a small portion over here where it goes down McClure, follows Alameda, and we have that area between McClure and Camino Real.
And I'm sure there's probably a lot of people that don't even know what district that they live in. First of all, how can they go and view this map and see if their house is
So
in that area?
I'm going to have it pinned at the top of my Facebook page. You can find me at Las Cruces Rob, and I'll put a link there so you can see. You can go and zoom in and find your street, but actually see if you're within the district. A lot of people live right past Mayfield, and that actually puts them in the county. And then also Picacho Hills isn't in the district because it stops right there on Picacho at the river.
It's still a pretty big district.
Yes, it's very big, and as you can see on the map, that industrial park airport area is just huge, and that's all city property.
Now, with something like that property, what would you do to help economize those properties, to put them to their best use?
Yeah, so the second map we have is of federal opportunity zones, and these give tax incentives to investors where it defers and potentially has zero taxing on these areas. So of course on that map we have the University Park right here where New Mexico State is, downtown, which is between Picacho, Avenida de Mesilla, and Valley. So that whole strip of Valley Drive where construction has affected business owners, that's a federal opportunity zone. So it's exploiting that and finding ways for investors to come into our community, develop business. And then of course up here off of Main Street and Travis, we have a big section. You can see that's between Spruce and Solano. And then when we're going out to Doñana, we have Angler Road, but this whole section back here, this goes into the industrial park and the airport area. So it's capitalizing on those opportunities and finding businesses that fit those areas and developing it.
Now, knowing your district and knowing what constituents are wanting, what type of ways do you think we could utilize that federal property?
So manufacturing, of course, when it comes to import or export more so, proximity to the border comes into play, and that's why they look at Santa Teresa, but finding the things that work for us. Also, our community has an ever-growing film industry. So, maybe we can build some film studios out there. There's plenty of space to build large facilities.
Yeah, it's a very big district.
Yes.
Now, how does the construction affect the businesses around there?
So in general, construction is going to affect businesses when your storefront isn't accessible, when they're having to shut down. While they're doing construction, they're looking to maintain access, but that doesn't always make it easy for people to drive through, So an example, Valley Drive project, yes, businesses are accessible, but to what extent do you have to go? An example, Fiesta Bakery. You had to drive down Picacho, turn back, and then come up, Hadley, and then get to their property. And when you're making a donut stop or a coffee run, what do you expect? Convenience, speed. If it takes 30 minutes to do a coffee or a donut run, how reasonable is it for your clients to do that?
So with that said, what is good for a business for the city?
So good business is being business friendly. And so doing that, finding different opportunities, public-private partnerships, highlighting the nonprofits in our community that provide services. It's not always up to the city to do everything and provide everything for our community. One, there's private enterprise, opening up your own business, providing services. Two is a public-private partnership to help move and provide resources. And then three is nonprofits, where the private sector can't profit off of it, but it's a service or a need of the community. So an example is Big Brothers, Big Sisters, Boys and Girls Club, La Casa, different resources in our community that are necessary, but the private sector can't necessarily make a profit off of.
Are there any nonprofits in District 4?
Yes, we have the Gospel Rescue Mission. We have Casa de Peregrinos, the Soup Kitchen. There's actually a lot of resources in District 4 that cater to our community.
And now what do you think about those and helping our community thrive with those types of charities, those foundations that we do need, of getting business out there and helping with that?
Yeah, they really stepped up to the call when we had the asylum seekers coming into our community. Casa de Peregrinos, the Gospel Rescue Mission, they were the ones providing resources to get clothing and toiletries and food to these individuals. But that's not the extent of what they do. They cater to our community year-round. And so we have to make sure that we fund those nonprofits that help our community, that the community knows what resources are available, because good business is also making sure we don't duplicate resources, that we utilize the resources already here in Las Cruces. And so if there's an opportunity for it to either be private sector or a nonprofit running it, that the city doesn't have to create more programs to things that are already in our community.
And they're right there in District 4.
Yes.
And we're talking about economic growth. Now, how do we grow our city and remain sustainable as for our resources?
Yeah, so it's a good question, because we live in the desert, so everybody says, well, what about water? We have to be sustainable. So people, when they've asked me this question, it's looking at renewable energy, different resources. And I think I touched a little bit on it last time. You have solar panels at City Hall, the Munson Center, the Aquatic Center, and I'm sure there's a lot more that the city has them in our community. But economic growth doesn't mean droves of people busing them into Las Cruces to build a bigger economy. We have the resources here. We have the workforce. It's just creating jobs for those individuals. whether it's skilled labor, whether it's the service industry. It's making sure that we're continuing to grow within our community and not necessarily bringing out outside individuals or outside resources, but tapping into what we have in Las Cruces. So it's very sustainable because it's already the community members here in Las Cruces. We're just providing the opportunity to have better employment, to create an industry. As we spoke of before, I'm in radio as well as sound engineering, and so as the film industry grows, they need post-production professionals. They need people to hold boom mics, and so it's just finding what's out there and what people are going to New Mexico State University for, and saying, okay, how do we create more jobs in a certain field?
And like you talked about the film industry, how do you think that we're going to keep all of that going on here in Las Cruces with different resources that we need? How are you going to keep that instead of outsourcing it like everybody else does? How do you suggest that we're going to keep that, especially in District 4 with all the nonprofits and charities?
Yeah. So as far as the film industry, they've done a great job of going up to Santa Fe and legislating for incentives and tax credits or tax cuts or whatever it is. But being able to find those opportunities to grow it in our community and say, hey, Las Cruces has in close proximity White Sands National Monument. We have Organ Mountain Desert Peak National Monument. We have beautiful vast deserts. The last film that I was actually helped out in was Walking with Herb out at Red Hot Golf Course. And so it's really neat seeing that industry grow in our community and them using the resources here in our beautiful, community.
Now, what is the year of business? Explain what that is.
So over the past few weeks, throughout interviews, I've been talking about 2020 is the year of business. And that's just finding ways to, like I said, stimulate economic growth. And I explained it this way, is it's something as little as taking 1 month and waiving the business license fee to spur these small business growth and to help them. As a startup, you have a website, you have a storefront, you have product, you have advertisement, you have employees. There's so many things that go into starting a business that sometimes just that one little bit of support,
push, yeah,
really is a big help.
I know firsthand. I have a significant other that owns a business here in town, and it's very hard to keep it open, first of all. And I can't even imagine with the construction that's going on in District 4, what these businesses have been going through. And I know that we talked about it before, how it affects it. I know you're a big supporter of like Zia Cafe and other places, of course, on Valley Drive. How are you going to make your constituency the same things that you do, and maybe spend a little bit more time in the morning, to support the district and to support the businesses there?
Yeah. For me, it's just being a voice for them and sitting down and talking to those businesses and saying, hey, how can Las Cruces support you? How can I support you as being, councilman in District 4? What do you need done that is affecting your business? And so an example, Zia Cafe, they were highly affected because the project was phased out. And in November of last year, when they started construction, they had just opened their doors. And so it really caught them off guard. And so it's communication, definitely. And then from there, how do we support them? And that's by sitting at the table. And as I mentioned before, it's continuing your door knocking, talking to individuals in the community, sitting down with the businesses, and keeping that communication open.
Well, we're here with Robert Palacios, so once again, a candidate for City Council District 4. We're going to take a quick break and we'll talk some more about economic growth here in Las Cruces. You're watching the Candidates Forum.
There you go.
So great. You can do all these different gears like land.
Okay.
Nice.
Guys, not all.
It's here. Horizon Granite is here. We'll come to you to customize your kitchen and bathroom with beautiful countertops and cabinets. Find out more at horizongranite.com. Call us at 575-650-3180.
Horizon Granite is here.
It's here.
Make yourself a beautiful home.
Hi, I'm Ray Bamberg with Here on Earth. I would like to invite you for a free hearing evaluation to our office. We've been here in southern New Mexico for 34 years helping people hear better.
Welcome back. You're watching the Candidates Forum. I'm Patricia Valencia, your host for today, here with Robert Palacios, once again candidate for City Council District 4. Now, when we left, we were talking about the construction, and it seems to be the hot topic because that's all that's going on in District 4, and it's really affecting everything that's going on there. Now, what are some of the things that's coming about with construction and everything in District 4 with that?
Yeah, so the Valley Drive project, we should be seeing here towards the end of October them transitioning from the west side of Valley, finishing paving, and then they're going to move to the east side to wrap up the project. Now that total end date we probably won't see till February, March of 2020. If it's sooner, we're going to have a big old party and,
and drive up and down.
Yes, exactly. I always think of that scene from the movie Cars, where they finally pave the road and the cars are driving down this smooth.
Ready to go.
Yeah, but also bike lanes, so we'll have bikers and pedestrians on the new sidewalks because I don't know if people realize a huge portion of that road didn't even have accessibility to sidewalks.
Well, now that you bring that up, I feel kind of silly not knowing this. What exactly are they doing to Valley Drive? Because I don't even know. I use it all the time, but yeah. I don't know what we're looking forward to exactly.
Yeah, so it's an NMDOT project. They were going to be, like I said, they re-engineered to add in bicycle lanes, sidewalks, and resurface. And then the city came in and said, hey, well, our utilities are down there for improving. Let's get this done as well. So they're replacing water lines, gas lines, the drainage system to Valley Drive. So as opposed to just resurfacing a road, which can take a couple months, they're actually having to trench further into the ground. They're having to make sure that the soil is stabilized because we don't want any sinkholes or, you know, who knows what would happen if they didn't do it the right way. But they're going deeper. They're having to do more stuff to the soil to make sure it's stable before they resurface. So it's a longer process. It's not just where you've seen, oh, well, my road in my community was repaved, you know, in a day. There's a lot more involved with this project. But there's different ways that we can improve, you know, 24-hour schedule where maybe it's just 24 hours for 5 days a week. Working at night to make sure that the project happens a little faster. This past week I was actually driving down Interstate 10 and lo and behold they were working at night. They were grading the surface and I'm sure they're following up with repaving of I-10. But we also have a project that's starting up on North Main at I-25 they're going to be working on. So it's finding ways that we can be creative with these projects and make sure it affects the business community in the least impactful way and that we do it as safely and as quickly as possible.
So the payoff's going to be worth it.
Yes, but as a community we got to remember too is I know it's inconveniencing to drive down Valley Drive, but there's a lot of great businesses. You have Calichi's, you have The Shed, then you have your dealerships, Sisparo's, Vescovo, like we were talking about earlier, Zia Cafe. And these are, you know, many, and if not all, locally owned businesses in our community that always heed the call and support local when they have the opportunity. You know, running nonprofits, I've had the chance to go to these businesses and say, hey, how can you help us? And it's not always writing huge checks, but maybe donating products or if you're doing a silent auction, you know, they donate things for your silent auction. And so we have to remember as a community that the construction is cumbersome, but we still need to support those businesses.
Now we're talking about economic growth here in Las Cruces. A big part of that is minimum wage. What do you think about minimum wage?
Yeah, so I think we've gotten to a good place as a community, a little over $10 now as the beginning of 2019. I believe it's 10.10 now. And that's a good way. I think it's irresponsible to jump into $15 an hour. And really, minimum wage, there's a difference between minimum wage and a living wage. And a lot of these jobs are entry-level jobs. Do you remember getting a summer job as a kid?
Oh gosh, yes.
I mean, I would have jumped into the workforce like that if I knew I was making $15 an hour. But what's the reality of it? How are businesses affected by this? And so what we're seeing across the country in major chains is automation, even as far as large stores where there's robots going down the aisles scanning products and taking inventory, and it doesn't take.
I saw one of those yesterday at Walmart, and I didn't know what it was actually.
Yeah, and that's the great part about local too, is there's a more personal approach as a local business owner that you take, as opposed, and some of these big chains have a better opportunity at dodging different aspects of minimum wage increases. But I'm sure somewhere like Zia Cafe isn't going to go into an automated system anytime soon, because the investment into that, it saves funding on a large scale, but when you're a small business to go to that next step, something that looking at my past business, the Las Cruces Mariachi Conservatory, we could definitely move forward with technology, offer maybe Skype lessons, or have more YouTube channel lessons where people could learn about mariachi. But everything, going back and talking about the year of business, everything you do is an investment and it costs money. So of course there's steps, and that is definitely a step now as a nonprofit that we can take, the Mariachi Conservatory. But when we increase the minimum wage, then there's something that's going to affect something else. And so whether it's in a good way or a bad way. And for me, moving in a minimum wage to $15 an hour, that's putting the cart before the horse. If we do have a great opportunity for economic development in our community, then people are going to get better wages. If we focus on education and helping people learn skills, vocational skills, go to trade schools, it's not always about going to a four-year college. Initially, that was my choice. I went to the Conservatory of Recording Arts and Sciences and learned a skill, an immediate skill there, and had an opportunity to jump in the workforce, but then later decided to take a four-year college. And so when we build those resources in Las Cruces, and for me, better utilize District 4. Hey, maybe we can open up some trade schools out in Industrial Park, mechanical, what else? HVAC, we could have we could have a technical school out there. How cool would that be?
Even a film industry.
Aviation, you can have aviation mechanics, some kind of schooling for that. So building an economy isn't just saying, oh, well, we support you as a business. But what does that actually mean? That means investing in education, investing and providing opportunities for small businesses to thrive a lot more, and going from there.
Now, speaking of, you kind of tapped on it a little bit. What is education? How does it coincide with economic development and growth?
Yeah, so New Mexico State, of course, a huge resource in our community. If we're educating those students, but there's not opportunities or an industry for what they went to school with in our community, then what good is it? You got a degree in
biology, actually.
Yeah, and so maybe if you live close to Rio Rancho, you could start working at the labs up there. There's of course opportunity at White Sands Missile Range, but a lot of those jobs are a little bit easier. Being a veteran, I know that it would be easier for me to get into those jobs because of my military experience. If you have security clearances, depending on what your MOS was with the military. But for someone just coming out of New Mexico State, it's not as easy. So,
Now we have a couple minutes left, so something to wrap up your final thoughts about economic growth and Las Cruces and the economy. What would you say to your constituents about all of that and about District 4?
Yeah, so as a whole, it's, again, going back to the table, a lot of it's easy to talk about. It's easy in theory, but actually getting out there and doing it is something else. And luckily, I've had the opportunity to do that a lot in our community, whether it's through building our own business, my own business, through building a nonprofit. I like going in and getting my hands dirty and making sure things thrive in what I do. And so just talking to voters out there, let's sit at the table and these are things that I specifically see or am influenced by. But let's sit at the table. If there's something that you're passionate about, reach out to me and let's have that discussion.
Awesome, Robert. Well, thanks for talking to me once again today, and you can watch him again. We're going to be here back next week on the Candidates Forum on Las Cruces Facebook page.
I'm Robert Palacios, and I approve this message. Carissa Avila, Treasurer.